cool, even though they have disowned it.
No.
What's interesting is there was actually a Game Boy Color, not really a port, but a Game Boy Color game being made at the same time. And it was developed by Crawfish Interactive, and supposedly it was fully completed. And supposedly it's actually a decent game. But Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of South Park, they realized that the primary demographic of the Game Boy Color is children, and they decided to cancel it because really not something for kids.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Basically, because their thing was it didn't fit on the system.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, like, nowadays, it could totally work, but at that time...
Nowadays, it's like, don't put anything on anything.
Yeah.
Apparently, the game... Hey guys, I'm Bill, also known as the Barbecue Games on Instagram.
And I'm Alex, his sister, who brings only chaos.
And together we are the Gaming and Collecting Podcast, a mostly video game centered podcast.
But half the time, we just talk about anime.
And that collecting thing, well, that's mostly just an implication at best.
So come along and enjoy us on this adventure
as we discuss the games that shaped us. So, how you been?
Well, we podcasted about 2 minutes ago. It's gonna be great.
Yes, we did.
We talked about anime.
Yes, we did. But anyways, guys, so we didn't. It's been obviously not much has happened since then.
Yeah.
But
we did do something fun yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
Except for the parking lot.
Well, not yesterday. The night before.
Well, the night before.
Saturday night.
Saturday night.
So we went to go see an SRX race.
Yeah.
That was fun.
It was cool.
Which was basically...
I haven't been to a race in so long, so it was kind of like fun to go to one I haven't been to in a while.
Yeah, so what SRX is, I guess, just to give our little early spiel, is it's short for the Superstar Racing Experience. It's basically a small mini like made for like entertainment series, where it's all the same. These basically little stock cars, and they get a bunch of old legends of motorsport from like IndyCar, NASCAR, like sports car racing. No Formula One yet, but it's coming, I swear. And they face them off against each other and like a local legend from whatever short track they're racing, because they exclusively race on like short local tracks, not like any big major tracks. And it's to bring awareness to all these different smaller tracks, and to give like little guys like kind of like a
chance to
they give
shine.
them they get them out in the spotlight.
Yeah.
And they it's cool because they divide the race up into these little small 2-lap heat, these small two little heat races like that are timed.
Yep.
To determine qualifying order, and then we have the main event. And it's just kind of cool because it's like they're all the same cars, like there's no like real advantages, and they all just kind of race against each other.
It's not just about the racing abilities of the driver, because they can't blame the car because the cars are
all the same. And it's all strictly for entertainment purposes. And it's just a good time in general.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Last year they said that the hometown hero, at least in like Connecticut, the one that we went to, was the person who won.
Yeah,
right?
That was the first SRX race ever last year. Was at Stafford, and the hometown hero Doug Kobe actually won the race. And what it actually ended up getting him like a ride in the Truck Series for a one-off race. Like gave him a chance, anyways.
Yeah.
Because he was like the big superstar of that race. Like he fell out of his car when he got out to victory lane. It was funny.
He must have been like, "What the hell just happened?" You know.
Nah, but this one was fun. We got to see the pace car was like this really old like roadster looking thing.
Yeah.
Freaking door on it broke open during the race.
And it was cool too. Is that like they're really great for people with short attention spans. Because I get bored so easily, but like they're so quick that you're just like, what the heck?
And it's cool because when you watch it on TV, you actually get the like in between each like heat, they give like these little behind the scenes segments on all the drivers, because all the drivers are like legends from the sport, so they have these big personalities and histories, and they're all characters. And it was super entertaining to watch, like the final laps, especially like the battle between Tony Stewart and Marco Andretti, like right at the end there, where like
and then how like what's his name?
Ryan Newman came out of nowhere and ended up winning.
Yeah, like, that was nuts. Like he was in like the middle back, like he just came out. No, it was sick.
It was just fun.
It was a good race.
The whole point of the series is strictly to have fun. Like they'll throw cautions if it's getting too strung out, which admittedly this race didn't even need them because it was that entertaining the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was that. Getting out of the parking lot sucked. Alex had a freaking breakdown, but
oh my god, I hate situations like that, and my legs were just cramping, and it was
the problem
horrible.
is that's a small independent track that's heavily understaffed.
Yeah.
And the parking lot literally, it's drunk people everywhere. They're just not paying attention, and basically it's just one giant clusterfuck.
But eventually, we made it home, and we all went to bed.
You guys went to bed. I was so awake and wired that I got drunk and fell asleep on the couch.
Jesus. Well, I was so tired. I was exhausted, so I went to bed after. But what are you drinking, Bill?
I'm drinking a sparkling ice. Not
what
spiked.
Flavor?
It's coconut pineapple. Not my favorite, but it is what it is.
I'm still drinking Sprite. I love Sprite. It's the same one. It's not a multiple. I only do 1 can a day, guys. I'm not that addicted. Yeah. Oh my god, we had a crackhead behind us today.
That's one way of putting it.
Well, it was like we were driving down the street. So we tried to go to this place to get donuts, but then we kind of, I don't know, I had a feeling it was going to be closed, but we gave it a shot. But unfortunately, it was closed, and they don't have it's like this small town donut place, so they don't got a website or anything. Like
it's also the 4th of July, so. It's
the 4th of July today, so we were like hoping, but no cigar, so we're going, and we ended up getting Dunkin' and coffee, because we needed coffee to function. We ended up doing that, but then we're driving back, and like, we're driving in the road, there's like a couple cars behind us, and then we turn into, there's like, kind of, you could go 2 ways. You can either go this loop around, or you can like cut through this grocery store. So I turned to cut through the grocery store, and I just noticed this guy behind me is like I see him like get super close to me and like start like flailing in the back of the car. Like I don't know what the hell he was doing, and I'm like, is he doing that to me? And Bill's like, I don't know, like that's weird, because he wasn't behind me the whole time. So I'm just going, and then I'm like, I get to the light, and it's like. I can turn onto the road, but like I have to wait because there's cars coming, and he's like freaking out, and he starts beeping at me, and I was like, okay, well, fuck you, I'm not moving now. So I end up waiting, and I let cars go, but eventually I'm like, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, and then he had like a weird post moment of like clarity where he was just driving normally, and then all of a sudden he like went nuts again and flew past us.
Well, I just decided that like because he was like such an asshole, I was just gonna drive real slow down the road. So I was like going, the speed limit was like 30, and I was going like 20.
Yeah, and then he finally lost it and illegally passed.
Yeah.
But
eventually, like he passed me, but I waved by at him, but I was just
I'm telling you, he had to poop.
It's possible. I mean, sometimes it drives you to do crazy things, but it was nuts. I'm like, people are crazy, and we've talked about it before, but I feel like a few years ago, 80 used to be like the fastest people would go, and now I'm like, it's like 90, 100 is the new fast.
Driving in the post-COVID era has shown that people can't drive for shit.
People are horrible, and they're just cuckoo. But we made it. We survived the crackhead that was behind us, so woohoo.
Yep.
And we're here.
Yep. But anyways, so now we have our topic for today's episode. So in the past we did Simpsons games.
Yes.
Well, there was another long-running animated sitcom of a similar style that was also airing during the 90s, and that is South Park.
South Park. I remember my first introduction to South Park was that kid who lived down the street from us.
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
I always remember just seeing it on TV because you'd occasionally catch it, and like that was Mom was a strict no South Park.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a show for kids,
No,
so I do not blame her at all for doing it. It's better that she did do that. Especially since there's a lot of profanity, there's a lot of dark, surreal humor and satire, and it's made for an adult audience. Like, it's not a kid's show. If you show that your kids that, you probably shouldn't.
No, it's a very, very...
Maybe that's why kids are so horrible nowadays.
No, if anything, it's because they weren't exposed to South Park.
Ugh.
See, this is the thing. This is the key. South Park desensitized us, and it made us aware.
I mean, I didn't watch it.
True.
I never watched it as a kid. I only
don't
started
know.
watching it when I was a...
I'm not sure where this plot
Older.
tangent went, but anyways, so, but yeah, South Park cultural phenomenon. It's still going on to this day. It's one of the, admittedly, I don't care for the current seasons just because I think they got a little too real. But what made the show great is like how it like never really got stale.
Yep.
Like, because it was always they'd find something and they'd make fun of it. It wasn't like The Simpsons where it was just trying to be jokes every 5 seconds. Now it's South Park's always kind of like, what's our topic we're gonna make fun of? Yeah. Okay, let's make fun of this for an entire episode.
Yeah.
Like, it's made fun of pretty much every cultural phenomenon there is to this day. That nobody's safe in South Park. That's kind of why it's so appealing.
We watched one recently where it was like it was, what was it? It was like the kid like pooped his pants in school, and then in order to the teacher somehow wanted to get Cartman
it's the one
on
that's
their side, and it just brings like Selena Gomez, not the actual one, and then Carmen's just like, all right, do it, and they end up just kicking her, like
beating the shit out of her.
Selena Gomez is like,
and
oh my
Cartman's
God.
like, that was so awesome.
Yeah,
because Cartman's a piece of shit.
Yep.
But anyway, so the series is massively successful, and it's been going on since the 90s, still to this day. Like, it's getting up there in age. Yeah. But what's interesting is the series, like The Simpsons, had a good amount of video game adaptations during the 90s.
Yeah.
And South Park video games are interesting, to say the least, because, like The Simpsons, they started out rough, to say the least.
Rough?
Yeah. So, I guess starting off from the beginning, we get 1998.
South Park?
Just South Park. Released for the N64, PC, and PlayStation. The PlayStation version, though, is a flaming pile of shit. Don't bother playing it. The N64 version is the definitive version, but the game itself... So, it is a first-person shooter, and it was developed by Iguana Entertainment, the creators of the Turok series.
Yep.
So it actually was built off a pretty solid engine. Like, the game play on the N64 anyways, the game plays very... I mean, it's a early 90s pre-Halo FPS. I mean, you're not going to get anything groundbreaking here. The whole gimmick is it's like these alien turkeys are attacking South Park.
Oh.
And you play as one of the 4 boys, and you throw snowballs at them to defeat them.
Interesting.
In the 3D town. It's not the worst thing ever made.
But it's not good.
No, it's not a masterpiece by any means. And there's a reason why the N64 version only has a 67.
Oh.
I mean, it's very average.
Yeah.
I guess for at the time it was probably decent. The multiplayer was kind of fun. And it did get like Trey Parker and Matt Stone to do a lot of the voices in game.
Oh, okay.
Which was kind of cool, even though they have disowned it.
Oh.
What's interesting is there was actually a Game Boy Color, like not really a port, but a Game Boy Color game being made at the same time. And it was developed by Crawfish Interactive, and supposedly it was fully completed. And supposedly it's actually a decent game. But Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of South Park, they realized that the primary demographic of the Game Boy Color is children, and they decided to cancel it because really not something for kids.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Basically, because their thing was it didn't fit on the system.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, like, nowadays, it could totally work, but at that
time... Nowadays, it's like they'll put anything on anything.
Yeah.
Apparently, the game's, like, source code and frameworks were reused for other Game Boy Color games by the company. And I guess, including a Mary-Kate and Ashley game, believe it or not. But,
wonderful.
What's funny is the game... It did actually leak, and apparently you can play the ROM online.
Huh.
but I've never actually gone out of my way to try it.
Hmm.
So then, following that, we got Chef's Love Shack.
Chef's Love Shack?
Yes. This was also developed by Iguana Entertainment, although by this point they had been rebranded to Acclaim Studios Austin.
Mm-hmm.
So this one was interesting. So this was a party game.
Oh, okay.
Where you'd play as one of the 4 characters.
Yep.
And it was basically kind of like a series of mini games based around South Park. So I didn't play this one as a kid. Like, I remember I had a friend who had like the N64 game, like the original game, and I played a bit of that, so I had memories of that. And this one, I don't remember a single person who had this one.
Okay.
What interests me is it was released for the N64, Dreamcast, PC, and PlayStation. I'm kind of curious how the N64 one worked, because I'm pretty sure it used South Park style graphics, like that looked just like the cartoon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this one I played a bit of, though, and it's
not good, or
I mean, there's better party games. I guess if you're a hardcore South Park fan, it's not the worst thing you'll ever play.
Oh, okay.
But it's really not.
Nothing special.
Yeah, I mean, it's no Mario Party.
Yep.
It's not even Crash Bash, and Crash Bash ain't that good.
Oh no.
Hell, Sonic Shuffle is a better experience in my opinion.
Yikers. And that's considered bad by a lot of people's standards, right?
Yeah, so this one was pretty mediocre. So at this point, you can already tell Acclaim is not. So these were all published and basically made by Acclaim.
Yep.
Acclaim was not putting a lot of effort in, like they didn't do with most games.
Yep.
And following that, then we got South Park Rally.
Okay.
In 2000 for the PlayStation, Windows, N64, and Dreamcast once again. This time developed by Tantalus Interactive.
Yep.
And this was a kart racer set in the South Park universe. Which you'd think would be, even if it was crappy, it would still be, you know, at least playable. But my God, this game sucks ass.
Oh, really?
It's so meh.
Did you have that game?
I didn't own it as a kid, but I've played it. It doesn't even control great, and it's so generic. Like, there's nothing that makes it stand out.
There's nothing that's even worth playing about it.
Yeah, there's nothing that makes it stand out like any other kart racer. Like, you're better off playing Mario Kart, Crash Team Racing.
Actually having fun.
Hell, I'd rather play Sonic R.
Who wouldn't want to play Sonic R for the soundtrack alone?
Fair. Very fair. But, yeah, this game was so... Like, Matt Stone and Trey Parker had very little to do with this game's development.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to the point where, they basically... Their only contributions were voice acting. But basically after this game, Matt Stone and Trey Parker basically were very hesitant to give out the South Park license for games anymore without them really being involved, because 3 games, only one of them is really worth playing. The other 2 are completely mediocre, and even the first one isn't that good.
Yikers.
Like, 3 really just mediocre games that weren't worth playing. So by this point, so this came out in 2000. Yep. We wouldn't get another South Park game until 2009.
Oh, really?
But here's the thing. So there was a few canceled South Park games that went around. Like, obviously we had the Game Boy Color ROM.
Yep.
There was also... So this one is weird. Because there's not a lot of information on it. It was kind of like a sequel to the original South Park game. And it was... So this game has no title. It was just a South Park game that was being developed for the PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Xbox.
Yep.
Little is known about its development. The most people know is it was discovered on an Xbox development kit, like a demo for it. That was like the unfinished like games, like alpha, like pre-alpha, like severely unfinished. But it looked, from what I've seen, like the clips of it, it appeared to be like a Simpsons Hidden Run style game.
Oh, okay.
Like open world, like action adventure kind of game. And you play as the kids, and there wasn't a lot of there really wasn't any story or anything like seen. There was a couple pre-rendered cutscenes, like there was one of Cartman in a mental institute, which was odd to say the least.
Fitting. He should be there.
Yeah.
24/7.
But nothing's really known about that game. It kind of got discovered on a dev kit, and then it was kind of like that Sonic Extreme like skateboarding like game that never came out.
Yep.
Like it was just found on a dev kit one day, and that's how people discovered it.
Huh.
But because I don't even think it wasn't even announced. It just it was discovered. But other than that one, the next South Park game, we wouldn't get another one until 2009 on the Xbox Live Arcade with South Park Let's Go Tower Defense Play.
Oh, okay.
Which was a online only little tiny game, tower defense action game. I don't even think you can download this anymore. I think it's delisted by this point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they weren't. Unfortunately, with a lot of these Xbox Live Arcade games, a lot of them get lost to time. But I believe... So this was developed by Double Six. I don't really know much about this studio. They do a lot of Xbox Live Arcade games, from what I can tell. But from what I can tell, Matt Stone and Trey Parker were more involved with this one.
Yep.
Just because they wanted to at least make sure that the game was very much in their style of what they wanted at the time.
Garbage.
Yeah, not utter trash like a lot of these games had been. So I unfortunately never got to play this one just because I didn't have an Xbox at the time.
Yep.
But from what I've seen of it, it was pretty decent, like for what it was. I mean, it got a 72 on Metacritic, so that's not terrible.
Oh, okay.
The humor was great. It had some decent gameplay. It looked pretty funny. It was just a tower defense game.
Yeah.
Definitely the best South Park game made at the time.
Yep.
Which wasn't saying much.
No.
It was cool, but it was promising that at least like when the creators are actually involved, at least they can get something decent.
Yeah.
And then following that, we got another Xbox Live Arcade game called South Park Tenderman's Revenge.
Oh, okay.
Which was like a 2D platformer, which was developed by Other Ocean Interactive and was also released for Xbox Live Arcade. This one was a bit more mixed, but it was still handled directly with Matt Stone and Trey Parker's involvement.
Yep.
It's not too bad. I actually did play this one because I downloaded it on my Xbox.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't terrible. I mean, it's a South Park. It's a licensed online little mini game per se.
Yeah.
Not terrible, not great.
Just there.
Serviceable is, I think, the word to give. But then following that, then we get to quite possibly one of the biggest turnarounds, I guess you could say.
Yep.
In terms of video game, like licensed video games, in my opinion.
Yep. We
get South Park: The Stick of Truth,
which was based off like a series of episodes in South Park.
So it was, the whole idea of it was based off of the
World of Warcraft.
Well, it was not the World of Warcraft episode. It was based off of the Black Friday trilogy, which had the kids all LARPing, which was also just a whole parody of the console wars at the time.
Oh, okay.
But it used that look and style.
Yep.
But the build up to this game was interesting.
Oh, okay.
So it was first announced that it was being developed by Obsidian Entertainment, because I still remember the GameStop, the Game Informer issue I got, and it was being published by THQ. Mm-hmm. You remember THQ?
Yes.
And it was implied that it was going to be like a role-playing game set in the South Park universe.
Oh, okay.
And I always remember because it got this huge like full page like spread in Game Informer, which was really cool.
Yep.
And they showcased the graphics, which were going to like mimic the South Park art style to a T, which was really cool at the time, just because of how like good it looked by comparison. But then THQ ended up going out of business, like bankrupt, and it kind of threw the game up in the air. Like, is this going to come out? Thankfully, though, it was picked up by Ubisoft. It was just weird though, because it was like, damn, Obsidian Entertainment could not catch a break at the time.
Yep.
But the game eventually did get made, and it ended up being a role-playing game.
Yep.
Like a turn-based RPG set in the South Park universe, and it's heavily based around the LARPing like episode. So all the characters are you play as essentially a new kid in South Park.
Yep.
Whose family just moved there, and you basically the first thing you do is you go out and meet people, meet friends.
Everyone calls you New Kid, right?
Well, everyone calls him either New Kid or, as Cartman refers to you as douchebag.
Douchebag. Damn.
Because of course it's Cartman. But you explore the town and you basically go through this weird like plot that the kids are making up about this mythical stick of truth.
Yep.
That apparently gives them powers. They're all keep in mind.
It's all your imagination.
It's all imagination,
yeah.
Although it's also South Park logic, so there's a lot of shit that does happen.
Yeah.
And you get to explore the town
it.
and interact with all the different characters. Like the main characters all become party members at one point or another.
Yep.
And you can explore, and the game is loaded with like references to like the show, and it's so many freaking jokes that are like super fucked up.
Yeah.
Like there's a point where like you open like a door just to like a random house, and there's just two people having sex on the couch.
Oh, wonderful!
And it's like and then you open another one, and it's a guy having sex with a horse, and it's like what? It's like what?
South Park.
South Park. It makes sense in context.
No, it doesn't.
But it does in South Park context.
No! I just hit go with the cat toy. A new cat toy. No! It's mine!
Yeah, but you are a nightmare today. But anyways, so we go through, and the game's plot was 100% written by Matt Stone, Trey Parker. They got all the voice actors back, and it's like you're playing an episode of the show.
Yeah.
Like, it's that spot on. Like,
it's kind of fun because your own character's in it.
Yeah, you get to play as your own South Park self-insert. And you get to explore around, like, find all this fun stuff. The combat's not super complex, but it's also pretty decent for what it is.
Yeah.
It's typical turn-based combat.
I think they made it so that, like, you know, people who like RPGs will like it, but also the everyday person who doesn't play RPGs all the time can pick it up and...
Yeah.
It's easy to understand.
Like, and it's just...
They were smart about how they did it.
And it's really fun just exploring the town of South Park, because they actually gave it a full-on layout that you can explore gradually as the game goes on.
Yeah, you unlock new areas as you go, kind of just like the maps in other game. You know?
And it was really well received. Like, the game was, like, a smash
I think
hit
I looked. It has, like, a 10 out of 10 on Steam.
It probably does. It's definitely has a high rating on Metacritic.
Let me peek. Yeah, on Steam it's 10 out of 10, IGN 9 out of 10.
Yeah, Metacritic is given like around an 85, so
yeah,
that's good. And like significantly, a lot of reviewers refer to it as like the Batman Arkham Asylum of South Park games, just for how freaking good it was.
Yeah,
and it's fun too because there's a lot of just like side stuff you can find throughout the like when you're exploring, like little like mini like objectives.
Yeah,
and just other things. You even get to go to Canada at one point. And it becomes an 8-bit game.
Oh.
As you're exploring around.
Why not?
Yeah, but anyways, guys, we're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back.
No, I don't want to.
Well, too bad.
No breaks.
And we're back.
Violence.
This isn't going to be a thing in the future, but anyways. Do you just have like a supply of cat toys on you or something?
I just got grabbed a few.
Oh my god.
So I can chuck them at you in random intervals.
Wonderful.
We're very mature today.
Yeah. But anyways, guys, so following Stick of Truth, like
Truth of Stick?
South Park games were like on like a high all of a sudden. Like you were interested like what were they gonna do next?
Yeah.
Which is why South Park Pinball was clearly the next game.
Oh, was it really?
So, yeah. So this was just a little like iOS, Android like digital thing that you could download. It was also on all the other consoles, but basically it was just a digital remake of the old South Park pinball table from back in the day.
Oh.
It was
That's kind of fun.
Yeah, it was just a little silly thing
A
that
little
they
filler.
put out in 2014.
Yep.
But following that, then so South Park: Stick of Truth came out in 2014.
Yep.
3 years later, we got South Park: The Fractured Butthole.
Yeah.
So, and then this one was be released on the PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC.
Yeah.
This one, so Obsidian had been dropped by this point in favor of Ubisoft, publisher Ubisoft, just helping with development internally this time, along with South Park Studios, which is the company Matt and Trey created.
Yep.
To make South Park games. And Fractured Butthole is essentially a direct follow-up to the Stick of Truth. It uses a very similar graphics engine. Like it feels like you're playing an episode of the show.
Yep.
Only this time around, rather than the medieval LARPing theme, they're going for instead the superhero theme.
Yep.
With the Coon and Mysterion.
Yeah. Which we watched those episodes recently.
Yep. And they really do hold up well. And like
the Coon and Friends.
The game itself was written to by Trey Parker and Matt Stone, basically continuing
nice.
on the plot of the same style as Stick of Truth. Although this time they did change things up a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So unlike Stick of Truth, Fractured Butthole actually gives you the option to play as either a boy or a girl.
Oh, yeah.
And my favorite part is the way they hand wave it in game, because it is a direct sequel to Stick of Truth, so you're playing technically as the same character from the first game.
Yep.
The way they hand wave this is, it's implied that the characters just never noticed.
Oh, really?
Which is completely in character for South Park.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Because you go through like various like personality tests during the game.
Yep.
And like you can choose like gender and stuff and like all your like attributes as you get through the game. But the whole way they get around like the whole like if you picked like if you wanted to be a girl this time around was their whole justification is literally they just no one noticed. Because remember you're playing as a bunch of 9-year-olds, so
yes. Very mature 9-year-olds.
Yes. But anyways, so this game's plot basically continues similarly. Like you're still the new kid, although this time around his parents are fighting all the time.
Oh.
And he's very sad because he's basically in a broken family now.
Yeah.
So you just but the game does start out with you're still LARPing, and it's like you're now the king, because the game Stick of Truth ended as you being the king, King Butthole as they call him.
Yep.
And basically it ends with Cartman basically being like, yeah, we're playing superhero now.
Yeah.
And basically everything just goes back to you being, once again, the loser.
The loser.
And you basically just kind of force your way into playing the game with Cartman this time around. And so you pick your superhero class, and then you basically we get to the whole thing is like the way they go through the whole superhero thing. So like to unlock abilities, you go through your tragic backstory where Cartman you go through these like flashback scenes where Cartman basically gives you your power set. And then you kind of go on like different like quests around town and similar exploration stuff.
Yeah.
You go around, you interact with people in the town, and rather than like the Facebook ripoff from the first game. This time we have Coonstagram.
Where
you just basically you get more like you can take pictures and like get like friends and stuff, just and followers essentially.
Yeah.
And the combat system this time around has been revamped. Rather than a traditional turn-based system, it's still turn-based, but now it has like a strategic element.
Yep.
Where you got to place your characters properly on the game board at times and like time your attacks a little bit more.
Oh, okay.
And I personally prefer the combat system in this game just because it's more engaging. And I honestly like the story more too because it's very. I just prefer the superhero theme compared to the medieval theme in a lot of ways.
But I feel like you're probably more. You watch more superhero movies versus like movies like Lord of the Rings.
Well, yeah,
Would
like
that count? I don't know. I don't really watch those either.
So the LARPing, the LARPing was based off of the Black Friday trilogy, which was itself also a parody of Game of Thrones, which is something I've never watched and I have no interest in watching.
Nope.
But like superhero comic books and stuff is something I can get down with.
Yeah.
And the game, it gets really dark at times too. Like your parent, you end up killing one of your parents later in the game. Although time travel, timey-wimey shit undoes it because of course it does.
Yeah, why not?
A lot of really dark shit. And your character ends up being the only other character with superpowers other than Mysterion because you have like the weird ability to fart.
What about Midberry Crunch?
He's DLC technically.
Nah.
Like he doesn't appear in the main storyline.
Oh, okay.
I love this game's character interactions though.
Yeah.
They're just so funny. And I love how expressive you can make your character. Like it really feels like you made yourself. You can make yourself in the world of South Park, and just kind of explore around throughout the entire game.
Just have like a good time, even like just exploring.
It gets me how much it matches the South Park like world, like in terms of look and design and like the exploration, all the different character interactions, and like a lot of the jokes all like have great like payoffs and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And I really like this game. Like some people prefer Stick of Truth. I personally prefer Fractured Butthole.
Yeah.
I think it's mostly just because the final boss is kind of lame in Fractured Butthole. Like I will admit.
It is?
Yeah, well, it's just Cartman with whoever his weird hand
Cthulhu?
puppet. No, that doesn't appear here. It's his weird hand puppet thing.
Hand puppet thing.
Yeah, he's got like.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Puppet that's supposedly controlling him, even though it's clearly just Cartman being Cartman.
Yeah, Cartman just being an asshole.
I also like all the different characters, how they all have their superhero identities. They made like Timmy a freaking Dr. Xavier like parody this time around rather than whatever he was in the show rendition.
Yeah, it was like Blade Man.
Yeah, the Iron Maiden. That's what it was.
Iron Maiden, yeah.
Some great like exploration though too, and tons of stuff to find. Honestly, these are really solid RPGs, and what's cool is they're available on the Switch now, which just makes them even more worth playing. Plus, they have all the DLC added
stuff. That's how I played them.
Actually, one of my favorite jokes in the game is like, there's one of the DLCs like you can you need to find like a code, and you can look up what the code is. But if you type in the code like before you find it in game, Cartman will appear on the screen like in his teaching outfit from like one of the episodes, and he'd be like, "Hey, none of that Bill Belichick shit here." Basically telling you to stop cheating.
Oh my god.
Which is funny. It's just a little humor like that. That's like really great.
Yeah, it's the little things that make you laugh.
And I love all the different character classes and customization like options.
Yeah.
It's just a really fun, solid game.
Yeah.
And following Fractured Butthole, we also got one last game, but this was more of a little spin-off. We got Phone Destroyer, which was a real-time strategy collectible card game that you could play on your mobile phone.
Alright.
I didn't personally play because I don't really play mobile phone games, but I heard it was decent enough.
Yeah.
It was kind of it was set in the same world as the two previous games because you played as the new kid again.
Oh, okay.
And it was pretty solid. Honestly, these most recent South Park games are probably some of the best licensed games I think I've ever played.
Oh, yeah.
Because they capture the source.
They play, like, normal games.
Oh, yeah.
Also, as you said, capturing the show to a T.
Yeah, because they, like, so right on the money for what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
They remind me of that, like, DBZ Kakarot, just in terms of, like, very accurate, like, interpretations of the source material.
Yeah.
And they're so dark and, like, fucked up, too, which is great.
Nah.
There's just something fun about that.
Yeah.
Because the world of South Park is such a fucking confusing, like, ridiculous place that it's kind of funny you can actually immerse yourself in that same weird, wild world.
In that weird-ass world.
Yeah, where nothing makes sense.
Yep. Where someone can't die, no matter.
Yeah. Hey, that's a gameplay feature.
No one remembers.
That's a gameplay feature. Mysterion doesn't... Whenever Mysterion dies in battle, he just comes back as a ghost. And eventually re-heals himself. Because he can't die.
Oh, if, he's like your party member?
Yeah, if you have Mysterion in your party member, when he dies, he comes back as a ghost.
That's funny.
And he eventually will just revive.
The Coon.
The Coon.
The Coon.
Very fun game, though.
No one showed up to his fan event.
Yeah.
How rude.
It's just funny how much those episodes are still funny even today.
Yeah, no, it was funny. I mean, we've been watching a couple of episodes this week, and, it's been fun watching back. It's really a good show. Silly, ridiculous, but a good show.
Non-politically correct.
No.
South Park's basically like the epitome of like taking something to the extreme and then going just that little bit farther.
Yeah, just being like, all right, we got here. One more step.
Yep. Like, this is the line, and this is us crossing it.
Yes.
Just by this much.
Just a little.
Yeah, but it's super funny.
Yeah.
It's honestly, I'm surprised how little South Park games there are, but I guess a lot of it just has to do with IP control. Like,
yeah.
Trey and Matt being like, yeah, we're not going to let people just make garbage games anymore.
And I think, too, especially where they did have so many garbage games, like, you know, they're like, we don't want to go down that track anymore. And I don't blame them.
If anything, that's probably the reason why that one on the PS2 got canceled. Because I guarantee you it was probably never announced because it was probably something that a studio made, pitched to Matt and Trey, and they probably turned it down.
Yeah.
That's probably what it is. It's just one of those things where it's like when you have creators of an IP that are that protective of it.
Passionate.
A lot of times you can either go two ways. Either you'll get a piece of crap because they're too controlling, or you'll get like a masterpiece because they care that much.
And in this case, we got a masterpiece.
We did.
Well, we got two at least.
Yeah. And I don't know if they're ever going to do another one. I kind of hope they do, just because I'd love a third like RPG to play.
Yeah.
But if this is the last South Park game, I think it'll be a great place to end because the game is so freaking solid.
Yeah, it's a solid game.
It only takes it's like 15 to 20 hours. I think it's not super long.
I feel like they'd have to wait for like another big arc, kind of like how they did with Stick of Truth game.
Yeah, or just give it a couple of years, just like as a break. But yeah, so pretty short episode this time.
Yeah.
Just kind of going over the history of South Park games.
Yeah, and our kind of experiences with the show and the games, and South Park, woo!
But anyways, guys, once again, thanks for joining us on the Gaming and Collecting Podcast. The Gaming and Collecting Podcast can be found on all your major podcasting platforms, particularly Apple Podcast and Spotify. We are made on Anchor Podcast, and you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram along with Good Pods, and the episodes come out on YouTube eventually. That's kind of on hold at the moment until I can get around to it. But other than that, guys, we'll see you all next time.
Ooh. Bye!
You're a child.